Well, hello everybody. This is Natalie Zangon, also known as Mother Goose. Today I have the privilege of having one of my kids helping me out with doing the videotaping. So thank you so much for your help. So we're going to do an introductory to the Shabbat table since it was requested from me. And we're going to walk through of what takes place on the 26, 25 hours of the mystical Shabbat. Shabbat starts with Friday night sundown and the candle lighting. This is how the wife of the house invites and brings in the Shabbat. The Shabbat candles is lit by the woman of the house, the mother of the house. Everybody has a different mystical customs. Some light for also their children, some light for themselves. The usual thing is the married woman lights two candles. Some have the custom that the girls 3 years old and above light one candle themselves as well. And then they say the bracha of the candle, which is Baruch Ata Hashem, Elokei Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. And the candlelight of Shabbat is supposed to bring in the shalom bayit, the peace and the harmony inside of the home. Sarah Imenu, Abraham's wife, used to also do this custom of lighting the Shabbat candle. Whether in your home you practice Shabbat fully or not, you're always invited to do the mitzvah of lighting the candles. Even if you don't practice Shabbat fully, every step of it still counts. Then the men usually go to the synagogue, to the Beit Knesset to do the Shabbat prayers. Sometimes the women choose to go, sometimes they stay home and spend time with the children. Some do reading and other practices. Then, after the Shabbat services is done, you come to the Shabbat table. And then you come into the Shabbat dinner for the Friday night dinner. One of the number one mitzvot of Shabbat is also the oreach, the guest. Sometimes you may have guests and sometimes you not. But do not ever underestimate even having your own children on your own table. They too are like a guest. Children are like the guests that Hashem gives us the privilege of raising from infancy to childhood into adulthood. Our role as parents is to be the bridge from childhood into adulthood. You walk into the home for Shabbat, you sit down, and you find yourself seeing there's two plates on the table. There's a You come into the house and you might find something like this. Maybe simpler, maybe fancier. Every home does it differently. Some might use paper plates, some use real dishes, some use people use crystal. Whatever it is, every home has their own style. However, the more practicing ones, this is something similar you'll see. The bread looks like it's hiding under a bread cover. Then you see the Kiddush cup here next to it. And then you see two plates and usually two forks. So question is asked, why is there two plates? Also, I just wanted to pause a moment and remember that for the candle lighting that we spoke about previously, Sephardim usually have the minhag of lighting the candle and then Ashkenazis light the candle and then say the bracha, whereas Sephardim say the bracha and then light it, according to Harav Ovadia Yosef. He says the same way that you say the bracha of the apple and then you eat it, it's the same thing. You say the bracha of the candle and then you light it. During the candle lighting time is very, very sensitive time. And they say there's angels that come to create destruction and family tension and dispute in the home. So remember that the half an hour 20 minutes of candle lighting until your husband goes on to the synagogue is a very, very sensitive time. So try to keep your peace and your serenity and not let the rupture come in and keep the shalom bayit. So we go back into the Shabbat table. So you come in, usually they sit down and they say the prayer of Shalom Aleichem, welcoming the Shabbat, and then the prayer of Eshet Chayil is sang, which is this prayer that Shlomo HaMelech's mother wrote for his mother, and now it's customary to sing it for the wife. It's a beautiful lines of prayers of praise for the woman of the home. After the Eshet Chayil is sang, the bracha of Kiddush is said. Why on grape juice? There's some opinions that we are trying to commemorate the Etz HaDa'at when Adam ate from the tree of knowledge. Some believe it could have been the grape tree. So we say the bracha to elevate and create a tikkun for the damage that was done by eating from the tree. We're saying the bracha of grape. And then there's also an opinion that grape is one of the only fruit that doesn't intermingle with any other fruit. That is how Am Yisrael and the Jewish nation is. That we are very into connecting and creating that oneness and not going with any other fruit except creating that Jewish tradition. My producer said I need to wrap it up, so we're going to try to do this as fast as I can. So after you say the bracha of grape juice, also that's and wine, it's supposed to bring in brachot into your home. So the reason we cover the bread, because hamotzi is usually the first thing you ever say a bracha, but on Shabbat, since we say the bracha on grape juice or wine first, we cover it not to create any sense of embarrassment. Even though the bread has no feeling, is the mystical teaching of mindfulness and consideration. Another reason for covering is to remember how the man in the desert that came down was also covered. That's another reason we cover it. And it's very, very symbolic to have 2 loaves of bread that you say hamotzion. And the reason it's 2 loaves of bread is because the man came out double in the midbar, and that's why we say hamotzion 2 loaves of bread, because Shabbat is a day of rest. So we don't go outside and work, and we didn't in the desert either. And we hold the bread with 2 hands to remind us that there's 10 transformation that the bread goes through to become bread, and we're not allowed to do any of them on Shabbat. To remember that Shabbat is a day of rest because God rested on the 7th day. And we also do netilat yadayim. So after the husband of the wife, or if there's a woman of the table and no husband, the woman will say the kiddush. You drink the wine, then the father gives a bracha to the children, and then the family members get up and they go wash for hamotzi. The hamotzi bracha is you pick up the netila cup, give it to your right hand, and you pour 3 times on the left and then 3 times on the right, and then you say the bracha of al netilat yadayim. Then you come and you sit down and wait for the husband of the person in charge of the table to say the bracha of hamotzi. Then you wait for him to cut it up and give it to everyone. The same way for the kiddush. You wait for him to drink it, or they pour some in everyone else's cup, and then you have your kiddush. Then you have the hamotzi. Then first you have the salad and the fish. Fish is very symbolic because they say the person who eats fish, it remembers of like not having judgment. There's a lot of Kabbalistic mystical reason. After that, after you have the fish, you switch everything, the plate, the fork that was used. Then you have the main dish, which is usually chicken soup, meat, polo choresht, whatever else is luxurious food. Then you have dessert, and you do some parsha questions, and then you do Birkat Hamazon. I hope you find this helpful. Make sure to subscribe, follow me, and ask me questions, and we'll try to do the learning together. And remember, every piece of, every minute, every attribution of keeping Shabbat counts. Doesn't mean you have to go from 0 to 100 in one Shabbat, but every step of it counts.